Welcome to Life Mastered, the podcast, where high achievers and ambitious souls come for the kind of support that fuels both inner growth and outer strength. This is your space for real tools and deep truths, for meeting life's greatest challenges with grace, resilience, and self-connection, and also expanding into your next level of purpose. I'm Molly Claire, your host, master coach, mentor, and guide, because life mastery is not about checking boxes. It's about how you meet yourself in every moment along the way. Let's get started. Well, hey everyone. I am so excited about this conversation. I have Dr. LaChelle Wieme on the podcast today, and you're going to soon find out why I'm so excited about this conversation. Dr. LaChelle brings wisdom, personal experience, and is really here with a mission to share with you how, as women, soulful women, ambitious women, we can make our lives a lot easier. So I know you have so much to share, but welcome to the podcast,
Oh
LaChelle.
my goodness, Molly. I am so excited to be here. As you know, you said before, like we are so stinking aligned. And I just know that this conversation is going to be exactly what the women that are listening to this are going to need to hear today. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in. What I would love for you to do is just tell my listeners a little bit about you. And I mean, I'd love to go into your story and everything, but tell us about you.
Yes, absolutely. So I am a former nurse anesthesiologist, professor turned quantum business coach, mindset coach, business strategist. And I just got to say that that journey has been a wild, cool ride. And I love the fact that I get to learn from all of my like hard lessons in allowing people to essentially have an easier time getting to where they want to go because of what I've had to go through myself. And so when I can say to start is that I was doing everything that I knew I needed to do to be the good girl, right? To go to college, to get a good job. My mom was, uneducated, did not have a college degree, and she always felt really stuck. So she told us as kids, like get an education, get a good job. And so it was drilled into my head to do that. My master's, my doctorate degree later, became a professor, like living my best life, right? But
Yeah.
I knew that something was off. And in 2016, I was introduced to an opportunity to start of all things, a skincare franchise online. Now, what was so funny about that, Molly, is that I wasn't even washing my face at the time. And it was like so completely out of the blue because at the time I was finishing up my doctorate. My husband's a teacher. And so he was gearing up, at school, kids were busy. I had no business starting a business, but it was something that I couldn't stop thinking about. And this was my first kind of lesson in listening to those little God nudges and then actually following through with obedience. And so it's like, do it, do it, do it is what I kept thinking. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I just like, fine, I'm just going to submit to this. And what was so cool about it is that I learned that it was exactly what I needed because I learned that there is something called the and life that I didn't even know existed, meaning that there is
Mhm.
a way for me to feel challenged and fulfilled and be a more present mom and wife. And up to that
Mhm.
point, it was like all about just getting the next degree, getting the next award, getting the next job title, getting the next promotion, getting the next whatever. And I caught myself getting stuck in this rat race of accomplishment and achieving. And essentially, what my entrepreneurial journey taught me, Molly, was that deep down, I actually was just chasing worth.
Right?
And I was
Yes.
like, huh, like all of the achievements,
Mhm.
all of the things that I was doing were just putting things on my psyche saying now, and once you get this, then you're going to be good enough. Once you do this, then you're going to be worthy enough. Once you do this, whatever. And I caught
Mhm.
myself being in this high achieving mode, not
Mhm.
out of love and excitement for what it is, but for a proving to myself that when this is done, then finally I'm going to be worthy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to say a couple of things about this because it's like not only is it that when you achieve this, when
Mm.
you do this,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's like the in the doing, in the achieving, in the checking of the boxes and those dopamine hits along the way,
Yes.
it kind of like settles just enough of the anxiety,
Yes.
just enough of it
Mhm. Yep.
to continue to fuel the fire of more
Yes.
achievement, right?
Yes. Yes, and
Yeah.
so and as you know, it's a trap, right? Because as soon as you get to where you wanna go, it lasts for about 2.5 seconds, and then it's, like, on to the next thing, and we don't even take the time to celebrate, so it's constantly on this wheel, and so here I am, like, working my full-time career successfully, family life is great, but I was literally the mom who tore into the daycare center at 5:59 PM, hoping that, I wasn't gonna get charged for being, like, a minute late,
Mhm.
and realizing that that wasn't the life that I wanted. And I knew
Mhm.
that there was something inside of me that felt like I knew that I needed to this have this beautiful expression of being challenged and fulfilled. And like I love the achievement part of it. There is that part of me that's just part of who I
Yes.
am. But
Yes,
there's
yes.
also a part of me that was just like, this is at the expense of things that are also important to me. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I opened myself up to this and life, right? Okay, so here's the deal though. Molly, it didn't take me long to get caught up in that hamster wheel over here in the entrepreneurial life then. And I
Right?
it's like
We'll
it's
just
like
get a
same
new
same
version of
same
it.
patterns, new version, right? So here I am. I'm like, okay, I see the vision. I see what this company can do for me. I see how I can create my own schedule. I see how all of these things can happen. And I get into hyper productivity mode again, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, so if one strategy will work, five is going to work even better and faster. And,
Mhm.
I'm super coachable because I'm a high achieving, like, person who wants to know all the things, to do all the things. And so I caught
Mhm.
myself literally applying every single thing I could possibly apply. And then my
Mhm.
husband is looking at me like, wait a minute. You said that you're doing this because you want to have more time with us, but you're on your phone all the time. You're missing dinner for another Zoom. I don't get
Mhm.
it, LaChelle. Like,
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
isn't working. And so we had, several like interventions of like, hey, sister, like, chill
Yeah.
out. And all
Yeah.
I kept thinking is if I can just like devote 3 to 5 years and no pain, no gain, and if short-term sacrifice for long-term, success and all these things that I kept telling myself and realizing, Molly, that there were cycles and patterns underneath that I
Mhm.
needed to heal because if it wasn't healed, then I was just going to pick up a new version of this
That's right.
person in each new endeavor that I took on. And
Yes.
so I completely burned myself out.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in because I think that, you know, for everyone listening who relates to this, it really is true that unless we break this cycle, this
Yes.
pattern happening in our brain, in our body, in our nervous system,
Yes.
we will do it in a new area, even if it's in the personal life space,
Yes.
right? Because I think that think about how this can show up in being super mom, right?
Mhm.
And then I'm
Oh,
doing
totally.
all the things
Mhm.
and we're doing all the best books and all the best methods and all of a sudden it's like we start out, right, as someone who sees a vision of what we want.
Yes.
And then in the pursuit of that, we miss out on the essence of what we're wanting,
100%.
right? And
Yes.
so I love this because all of you listening, maybe you relate to this exactly, but at a minimum, you're likely relating to this idea of trying to achieve and check the boxes and feel better and feel satisfied and feel accomplished and feel of worth. And no matter what flavor of this shows up for you, now's the time it can stop. This is really what this conversation's about.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so I found myself completely burned out. I found myself thinking, why am I doing this? But I knew that there was a calling inside of me.
Yes,
I knew that
yes.
there was something in store for me. And I had to essentially do my own work on figuring out what was the motivator behind all of this hustle. And
Mhm.
where am I trying to prove outside of me what needs to be proved with inside of me? And I
Mhm.
found myself really on this deep dive of personal development with a paycheck, right? Like as an entrepreneur, I realized that in order for me to be successful and be able to do all these things, I needed to work on me alongside of that. And I found
Yes.
that as I continued to evolve my career, that I wasn't the only one in this pattern. And I think about
Right.
this the very first time that I took my success, I built this skincare company to be very successful. And I started to decide, like, okay, well, what are the things that created this success? And how can I help other people be successful? So I kind of morphed into a new service where I was helping people plan a year's worth of social media content in a weekend. right? Very
Mhm.
masculine, very strategy based. And
Mhm.
I loved it because I'm like, here's a process, and this is going to get your results. And it was amazing, right? What I
Mhm.
found is that it didn't matter what strategy I gave people. It didn't matter if I gave them the exact words to use. It didn't matter if I gave them the exact pictures to use. It didn't matter if literally had somebody else schedule their content out.
Mhm.
People were still stuck in perfectionism, of
Mhm.
overthinking everything, of being afraid to put
Mhm.
themselves out there, to being uncomfortable to be, in front of the camera, to be seen and rejected. And what if people think that I'm full of myself now that I'm promoting my business, or blah 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 blah. Realizing that underneath, it's not just the strategy. And oftentimes we, I think, as entrepreneurs or as women, we want somebody to just tell us what to do. And
Mhm.
that's why we get stuck in the hamster wheel, because we try to do what everybody else is telling us to do, and we get
Mhm.
stuck doing all the things, right? And
Mhm.
then we're like, but wait, I'm doing all these things and they're not working. I'm still not being fulfilled. I'm hustling harder than I've ever felt. And now I'm feeling like maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm just not worthy of this. Maybe I just, whatever the case may be. And then we want to give up on ourselves. And I
Mhm.
see this cycle over and over and over again. I see people that have, invested in coaching, for example, and they're like,
Mhm.
I don't understand. It's working for everybody else. It's not working for me.
Mhm.
And it's because the strategy is not the issue.
Right. And a couple of things. Those of you listening, think about how often we are certain that if we just have the right strategy. And listen, I'm
Yes.
not meaning to downplay strategy. Strategy is
Right.
fantastic, right?
We need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we need it. And truly, like you hear it from me, you're hearing it from Lachelle. We like
Yes.
it is the underneath, the internal
Mhm.
workings for you
Yes.
is the place where your best effort, your best investment will be made because when you work with yourself to
Mhm.
do all this kind of stuff, right? Claim your worth, see and feel what you're, deserving of and I could say so much more about it, but
I
that's
know.
truly the thing. And then the
Yeah.
strategy, right? The
Mhm.
strategy is fine. The strategy is great, but it's the internal part that is the thing, period.
It is. And so this is the thing, like I'm going to bring in a little bit of energy in here. And so Molly, I'm going to say that success requires a beautiful harmony and balance between masculine and feminine energy, right? So when we talk about strategy, that's the masculine, it's the doing, it's the execution, it's the decision making and the follow through. That's the masculine. You cannot be successful in anything in life if you do not allow for the masculine energy to be present. So I cannot sit on my couch and just expect that my dream clients are just going to show up at my door because I wish them into existence. Like that doesn't work that way. I actually have to take myself into the execution of my strategy to make something happen. But you cannot do and get stuck in the masculine without acknowledging the feminine part is equally as important for the success. What is that? That is the allowing. It is the creative power of allowing the juices to flow. It is us tapping into guidance from a higher self, our higher power from source, from God within, that is guiding us to where we want to go. And I think that there's so much to be said about like the doing. And oftentimes I give this analogy, right? One of my favorite examples is in the movie Finding Nemo. I don't know, Molly, if you've ever seen that cartoon, but there's this, great scene where Dory's swimming through the water and she's like, just keep swimming. And that's what I think a lot of us women feel like we need to do. We just have to slap on our smile and adjust our attitude and just keep swimming. And finally, we're going to end up into Sydney where we're going to meet, find Nemo, right?
Mhm.
And there's this beautiful scene in the movie where Marlin and Dory meet Crush the turtle. And Crush the Turtle is just like, hey, dudes, like all you need to do is get into the EAC. And it would literally shoot them directly into Sydney without any more effort of their own. No more swimming harder, no more, telling myself that I had to have a good attitude. They literally just needed to see and acknowledge that there's something telling them a better way,
Mhm.
leaning into that guidance and then executing and following through. That's the feminine. Being
Mhm.
open to the crush of turtles that are showing up in our lives, that are helping to guide us, to being
Mhm.
willing to say, I'm just going to sit back and allow myself to get to where I want to go without feeling the need to prove it. I get to
Mhm.
just allow that to happen. Now, Dory
Mhm.
and Marlin still had to make the decision. They still had
Mhm.
to swim into the EAC to get into there. They still had to
Mhm.
find Nemo once they got to Sydney. They still had to
Mhm.
do, but they had to also allow. And oftentimes
Mhm.
we don't want to be taken care of, or we don't want to let go of the reins of control that we have to
Mhm.
tell outcome how it's supposed to be. What if you can just receive the guidance that is going to take you to where you want to go faster,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
exactly how I built my program, my methodology is to be able to merge the masculine and feminine into it
Mhm.
so that you're able to receive and
Mhm.
execute in a way that's going to get you where you want to go faster, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's so funny because my daughter was actually Dory in her school musical. So I connect very much with
Yes.
this
Yes.
example. But it's like and I know I'm sure you've seen this as well. This is one of the most challenging hurdles
Mhm.
that I guide my clients through because the doing, the achieving, the checklist,
Mhm.
there's something about it that gives us a sense of certainty. It's where we're most
Totally.
comfortable, right? Because that's
100%.
what we've been conditioned to do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's kind of like, as I'm working with my clients to, and part of the work, a big part of the work we do is the connection with self, the knowing of self, right? Moving into that,
Yes.
it very much opens up that space of allowing.
Mhm.
And it takes quite a bit of trust
It
to
does.
move into that space because it can
100%.
feel so unfamiliar, so aimless, and pretty scary for us
Scary
because it's
because
new.
we're high achievers. And so Molly, up until this point, we've become successful because of the patterns that we've been using.
Yep.
And so you're telling me, LaChelle, that I've been successful up to this point, and I'm supposed to just abandon everything that I've been doing that I know works. And I'm said, you don't have to abandon anything, but you're here because
Mhm.
you're sick of the rat race and you're sick of the hamster wheel and you're sick of seeing things happening in the same way. So either you choose to continue down that and have the results
Mhm.
that you want, or you get to choose to see things differently, right? And I
Mhm.
think that this
Mhm.
is where I love that you help people to get into that inner self, and that neuroregulation piece is huge because it's like, what, this is scary, this doesn't feel control anymore, this feels like I'm submitting to something outside of myself, and that is going to make me feel dysregulated, and
Mhm.
it's going to initiate this fight or flight, right?
Mhm.
And what
Mhm.
happens is people don't realize this. I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'm going to go here. So
Yeah, let's do it.
one of the things that I teach is heart brain coherence. And I teach that specifically in sales because when you can get into heart brain coherence, like you literally can have the results that you need much faster. But what I
Mhm.
want to do is to help your listeners understand this is that we need to allow for ourselves to get heart brain coherence in order to just feel safe enough to make those initial decisions that seem scary. Because if you're not
Mhm.
making the decisions, you're not going to be successful. Okay. So, what does
Mhm.
that mean?
Mhm.
It means that oftentimes, especially as high achievers, we're very cerebral, we're very
Mhm.
logical. We're like, I can think my way out of anything. But then we're like, but why am I still feeling stuck? I should know better. And then we guilt and shame ourselves down this thing, right?
Mhm.
So, what happens is that when we're dysregulated, when we're in the fight or flight, we do not have good communication between our heart and our brain. And
Mhm.
the blood flow that goes to the logical part of my brain is actually diverted away, and can't think clearly. Okay, so that's one physiological way. So I have a background in anesthesia. I love nerdy, brain science and all those things.
Mhm.
Okay, but we also have this really cool awareness as of late. So the Heart Math Institute has been doing decades of research on this. They've discovered that we have 40,000 brain cells in our heart muscle,
Mhm.
and they call this the heart brain. Okay. Now you're like, okay, but who cares? Well, this is the deal. We actually have, with the electricity in our heart and the electricity in our brain, that electricity creates this electromagnetic field around our body.
Mhm.
Okay. Our biofield. And when we have this fight or flight neurodysregulation, it's almost like this static, incoherent, messy communication that happens between my heart and my brain. And it creates this confusion and it doesn't allow my brain to think clearly. Okay.
Mhm.
And what people
Mhm.
don't understand is that there's more communication that goes from my heart to my head than there is from my head to my heart. So
Mhm.
what if I can get my heart into a place of calmness and coherence? It's going to
Mhm.
send rhythmic, stable, clear channels back to my head. It opens up
Mhm.
my brain to open up to creative thought, open up to intuition. All of a sudden I get ideas that pop out of nowhere. I get downloads and clearer thinking and clarity just because I've regulated my nervous system. And it
Mhm.
creates a
Mhm.
positive feedback loop now. So I start with my heart, calm myself down. It allows for this beautiful rhythmic information and openness in my head. So now my head says, okay, I know what I need to do. And that in turn gives a positive feedback to my heart. And I have this beautiful, clear biofield that is stable and it gives me an edge in business and in life. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if
Mhm.
I am stuck in this fight or flight, I am getting all of these janky messages going back between my heart and my head. My blood flow is going away from the logical part of my head, and I'm stuck and I feel like I don't know what to do. So, what do? I keep defaulting back to patterns that I've always done,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yes, and, as you're talking, a couple of things that I wanna mention, it's like, when we think about this, when we are really cerebral, right? And
Yes,
we're always, like, going to the head, like, "How do I figure it out?" Always problem solving,
yes,
and
yes,
we think every problem is addressed and solved in that way
right,
without, right? Without that,
right.
as you're saying, coherence.
Yes,
And what actually happens, like, and I've seen this over and over again, and I'm sure you have as
yes.
well, is that the more we are stuck in our head of the figuring
Mhm.
out, the more dysregulated and anxious and out of sorts we feel.
100%. 100%.
Yes. And so it's kind of like, and I mean, I think that's where a lot of people reach a breaking point because
Mhm.
they feel
Yeah,
so out of control within themselves. And thank goodness, right? And then that's
yes,
when we just say, okay, hold on, let's
yes,
take a step back and figure out a new way.
yes.
Um, and the other thing that came to my mind as you were talking, and I want you to all think about this as, as LaChelle's talking about the messages from the heart to the brain and talking about this brain heart coherence. And as you're talking, I'm thinking kind of like experientially what that
Mhm,
is like, right? When
mhm,
we're in that state.
mhm.
And I think one of the greatest things about it is that is a space where we feel the most deep sense of peace.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what we're all searching for. That's what's missing.
100%, 100%. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I want to give people this idea that like on the other side of the EAC, like you're on your Finding Nemo journey, there's actually waits for you a life that you are feeling fulfilled, that you're making a massive impact, that you are
Mhm.
experiencing time and financial freedom, but you're doing it in a way that feels at peace and joy and ease
Mhm.
and flow. And it's like you are not having to choose between massive impact and income and your own
Mhm.
peace, that you get to experience both.
Mhm. And
And
you're
that's what we were talking about.
self-connected.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
possible because after lots of trial and error, this is where I've gotten. And this is what
Mhm.
I've seen with over and over and over when I've worked with people is that there's a
Mhm.
very simple process that I can take people through to get you to
Mhm.
that point. And it really
Mhm.
starts with number one, shifting toxic thought patterns. So this
Mhm.
is where I say, like, we all have big butts and I cannot lie. Yeah, LaChelle, but I don't know if that works. But what I've been
Mhm.
doing is working for me. But I'm not supposed to have a lot of money, or but nobody's gonna
Mhm.
think of me that way, or but whatever. Like we have big butts. So if we don't address these toxic thought patterns behind the scenes and the limiting beliefs and the subconscious programming, the trauma triggers, the things that are stuck energetically in our body, if we don't
Mhm.
address them and shift them and clear them, we're going to
Mhm.
continue to make decisions based upon that paradigm.
Right. Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you're going to wonder why the hell things aren't changing. And so
Mhm.
it really does require us to acknowledge, where's my but? You just told me to do this strategy, but I have a but in there, right? So what is that but, and where's the root of that but? And that's one of the
Mhm.
things that I take people through is getting to the actual moment in time between 5 minute and 24-hour time period where that belief was formed.
Mhm.
Pluck
Mhm.
it out like the weed that it is, neutralize it energetically, and then plant the seed of truth in its place, right? Because
Mhm.
if we don't do that, you're going to continue to bump up against it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
once we're able to identify our butts and our toxic thoughts that are behind it, then I have people shift into discernment. And discernment
Mhm.
is really allowing for, just like you said, when we are regulated neurologically, when we get to just open ourselves up. I believe that we're always being guided, that our
Mhm.
highest self, our higher power, God, is always giving us the breadcrumbs of what next step to take, what next step to take, what next step to take. And what I
Mhm.
do is I teach people how to not only ask those questions, but to discern the answers and to trust themselves that they actually hear that guidance correctly.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
once you can do that, you can say, should I quit my job? Yes or no. Should I
Mhm.
quit my job today? Yes or no. Should I quit my job in
Mhm.
the next year? Yes or no. And when you can understand how to ask those questions and let your intuition, and I help people to actually use their body to be able
Mhm.
to answer yes, no questions from source,
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
is no question you don't have the answer to.
Mhm.
Everything is within your power. And that means that I get to make big decisions based off of that. But I also get to make little decisions. Like I look at my to do list every single morning and I say, all right, should this stay on my to do list? Yes or no?
Mhm. Mhm.
Should I do this first? Yes or no?
Mhm.
And when I
Mhm.
allow for the guidance to tell me where I
Mhm.
need to take, that's me getting to the EAC. That's me
Mhm.
not just doing every strategy because it's what I should do. We shouldn't ourselves to death. We don't
Mhm.
get in the hustle mentality because it's how we're programmed. We literally can slow down and say, what is the best strategy for me right now in this moment? And I promise
Mhm.
you that one step guided from spirit is going to be more fruitful than 1,000 of your own.
Mhm.
But you have to learn to ask the questions and to trust it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanna speak to this trust piece because,
Mhm.
it's like I think sometimes we can have this idea that a guided direction is going to be one that is easy, works exactly the way we think the first
Totally.
time, and
100%.
that's not true. And so,
100%.
right?
Yes.
So it's like the power in not only being able to connect with that intuition and that guidance and that what calls us forward, but
Mhm.
as we're able to do that, and you've used this word, and this is the word I want to highlight, is do so with that trust
Mhm.
of self, trust of the direction, trust of what we know and feel.
Yes.
What that brings in is a spirit of us being able to continue forward even when it seems like maybe this was a bad idea, because we know,
100%.
right? it's
Yes.
just it's just just because there's a rock on the pathway doesn't mean the path is wrong.
Everything life works for us. Life is
Yeah.
not happening to you. Life is happening for you always. And Molly and I talked about this before we started recording. Everything is perfectly perfect. Everything is beautifully placed for your benefit at all times.
Yeah,
And so
even when
people,
it doesn't feel like it,
even
because
when it doesn't feel
sometimes
like it,
it
and
doesn't.
and that's just it. And this is the thing, you guys, is that the moment that you allow something outside of you to steal your joy or to take away your power, you have literally given away your power to something outside of you, and you're not recognizing the power that you have within you to create. Okay.
Hmm.
We all are
Hmm.
manifestation experts if we allow ourselves to be. And this is what I teach in my retreats is the 4 steps to manifestation. Now, in that process is a belief without doubt that is on its way. And
Hmm.
there has to be this trust factor in it where you just, even if you can't see it yet, you know that it's here waiting for you. And
Hmm.
you take aligned inspired action because you just trust that it is. It's faith in action,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
that sometimes people say to me, LaChelle, I just don't know if I trust myself because of this, and this hasn't happened. And then if
Hmm.
we're able to take ourselves out and look at it from the higher perspective and say, how is that happening for you in that moment?
Mhm.
You're able to see how all the pieces have always been designed for you. And that when we manifest, we have to remember that it's not just what I want, it's this or something better. Okay.
Mhm.
So part of the trusting is because people ask me all the time, like, LaChelle, how do you know that like it's not just you, yourself telling yourself what you want to hear? Right.
Mhm.
And I say,
Yeah.
Because I am told what to do all the time that I don't want to do it. And I will literally say, should I do this? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. But I have to do it today. Yes. But do I really have to do it today? Yes. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm there. I'm like, I'm right there with you, sister. Like I struggle too. But what happens is then I do it and it's like, whoa, that did not turn out the way I thought it was gonna. No, I have two ways that this can go. I can either say that didn't work, or I can
Mhm.
say, okay, but God, if I knew that that was going to work out that way, I wouldn't have done it. And if I wouldn't have done it, then that wouldn't have happened. You knew better than I did. Is this why you had me do that? Yes. Okay. So I can
Mhm.
trust that it's always working out for me. There are things that I need to learn. There are people I'm supposed to meet. There are sometimes I believe that God will take us down a dead end road
Mhm.
just to show us with 100% certainty with that was not the road to go down.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? And if I
Absolutely.
trust that there's that my highest self, my intuition, my the God within me is always guiding me, always giving me the exact tools that I need when I need them. If I just learn to trust it, everything is always working out for me and I learn to trust myself. But you start small. You start small by
Mhm.
asking, okay, should
Mhm.
I turn down this street cuz traffic is bad? Should I turn down this street? Yes or no? And I trust it and I do it. You start
Mhm.
to trust in the little things, guys, you're going to be able to start trusting yourself in the big things. And when I
Mhm.
left my career, just going to tell you this. Like Molly, I get goosebumpy when I think about this. In 2022, I left my full-time anesthesia career. I walked away from a pension and the accolades and I worked for it's the number one hospital in the nation. I'm just going to say that. Like it's very
Mhm.
well known. People from all over
Mhm.
the world go there. I had everything I could possibly want. And I walked away from that because I knew that I had something bigger for me
Mhm.
within literally okay, so I'm just going to think about this time frame wise. Within 6 months of me making that decision, I had co-authored my first book. I wrote my first solo book. I was on stage across the country more than once. I held my very first retreat that has now morphed into international retreats, luxury retreats that I do twice a year.
Mhm.
I think about like how fast things happened for me
Mhm. Mhm.
and things beyond anything I could have possibly planned for myself. I literally
Mhm.
made the decision to get into the EAC and I
Mhm.
trusted, but
Mhm.
all of those things needed to happen. And I had to be able to learn to trust myself
Mhm.
to make it
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the last part of this, so it's shifting toxic thought patterns, it's learning to trust your discernment. And then the
Mhm.
last step, it's the third and easy step is just get into that action with support and
Mhm.
systems, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Using success habits, using systems and automation and delegation and organization to allow yourself to follow through.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's doing what you said you were going to do. And when you can follow this, we're like, okay, there's a but, what's going on underneath the hood?
Mhm.
Clearing that so I can trust my discernment and then I'm leading, where I'm being led, I actually execute. I promise you
Mhm.
that you're going to get further faster than you've ever have in your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's like and I want to just capitalize on some things here and then I want to make sure you tell my audience where they can find you as well. So we're going to do that next. But it's like as you all are listening to this, there's so many good nuggets in this, but a few things I want to highlight is going back to the and life
Mhm.
that Lachelle was talking about. Because I know all of you have your version of, the opposite of that. What priorities or things in life you're believing you need to choose between. And
Yes.
so really knowing that the and life really is possible.
Mhm.
And I believe it often begins with paying attention to what we ultimately want and really value. The other thing that is, has we keep talking about is this trust, right?
Mhm.
This building of self-trust, and what LaChelle's talking about is trusting discernment, and I can't overemphasize the importance of building that trust muscle, and just many of the ways that LaChelle has just offered up. And the other thing that I really want to put out there for all of you to consider as you move throughout the day today is that we are powerful. And when we open up to what else beyond us is available and possible, um, we're just we're able to have and do so much more because we're not in this alone. We're not in this alone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Oh, thank you so much for this
Yes.
conversation. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can hear more about you, your podcast, all of
Yes.
it.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. You know what? I mean, I'm just going to keep it really simple. So you guys can see my name on the screen here, and Molly has my name in the title, Dr. LaChelle Wieme. You can find me at
Mhm.
LaChelleWieme.com. I'm at LaChelle Wieme on all the social media platforms. You can find my podcast within my website. So all of those, my books are in there. All of the ways to find me, just simple. Just look for my name, right? And
Perfect.
uh,
Yes. Thank you. Thank
yes,
you so much for being here, for sharing your energy and your wisdom and everything. And just grateful for your message. So thank you.
thank you, Molly. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone. I'll talk with you next week. Have a good one. Thanks for being here and for investing this time in you. Keep showing up. Keep meeting yourself with compassion. That's truly what life mastery is all about. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I would be honored if you would take the time to leave me a review. This ensures that this important work will get in the hands of more people. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, join me at mollyclaire.com where you can find all of the ways we can work together. I'll talk with you next week.